Listen to me carefully. If being kind, patient, understanding, and endlessly forgiving could change a narcissist, you would have changed them by now. You didn't fail. Kindness didn't fail. You were just using the wrong tool. I want to say something that may sting before it sets you free. You cannot love someone into accountability. You cannot soften someone into self-awareness. And you cannot sacrifice yourself enough to earn respect from a person who feeds on your self-doubt. I know how tempting it is to believe if I just explain better, if I stay calmer, if I give more grace, but that belief is keeping you stuck. Here's the hard truth. A narcissist doesn't experience your kindness as love. They experience it as permission. Permission to cross another line. Permission to dismiss your pain. Permission to keep the power exactly where they want it, away from you. And the most dangerous part, you start questioning yourself. You start shrinking. You start believing that asking for basic respect makes you too much. That is not empathy. That is erosion. I'm not here to turn you cold. I'm not here to make you cruel. I'm here to wake you up, because the thing that actually changes the dynamic isn't more explaining, more patience, or more emotional labor. What changes everything is something far quieter, far firmer, and far more uncomfortable than being nice. It begins the moment you stop trying to be understood and start deciding what you will and will not tolerate. Let me tell you why being nice doesn't just fail with a narcissist. It actually trains them. Every time you forgive without accountability, every time you explain your feelings one more time, hoping this will be the moment they finally get it, you are teaching them something. You are teaching them that your boundaries are flexible, that your pain is negotiable, that if they wait long enough, you will abandon yourself to keep the peace. A narcissist is not listening for understanding. They are listening for leverage. They study what hurts you, not so they can heal it, but so they can avoid responsibility or use it later. When you show up with softness in a system built on control, softness becomes a currency they spend. And I know this is hard to hear because you are not weak, you are relational, you believe in repair, you believe people can grow. That belief is beautiful. But when it's paired with someone who refuses self-reflection, it becomes a liability. Here's the shift that matters. Stop measuring the relationship by how much you love them. Start measuring it by how safe you feel being honest. Notice how your body reacts before your mind makes excuses. The tight chest, the rehearsed conversations, the exhaustion after every interaction. Those are not misunderstandings. Those are signals. Change does not happen when you give more. Change happens when the cost of staying the same becomes higher than the cost of losing access to you. And that only happens when you stop cushioning the consequences of their behavior. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to attack. You need to mean what you say and say it once. Here is the part most people avoid because it requires courage instead of compassion. What changes a narcissistic dynamic is not kindness, it's boundaries with consequences, not threats, not lectures. Consequences you are actually willing to follow through on. Boundary is not a request, it's a statement of self-respect. When you say, I won't stay in conversations where I'm being disrespected, and then you actually leave, something shifts. Not because they suddenly grow empathy, but because the rules of access to you have changed. A narcissist depends on your predictability. They depend on knowing you'll stay, explain, soften, and come back. When you break that pattern, you interrupt the power cycle. And yes, they may push back harder at first. They may accuse you of being cold, dramatic, or selfish. That's not proof you're wrong. That's proof the boundary is working. This is where most people collapse, right at the edge of their own growth. Because holding a boundary feels like rejection when you're wired for connection. You worry you're being unkind. You worry you're becoming someone you don't recognize. But listen to me, boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks. They decide who gets access to your time, your energy, and your heart. You don't need them to agree with your boundary. You don't need them to understand it. You just need to honor it yourself. The moment you do, you stop negotiating your worth and that's when everything changes. I want you to notice something powerful. A narcissist does not fear your anger, but they are deeply unsettled by your calm withdrawal. When you stop reacting, stop defending, stop over-explaining, the game collapses. Because the game was never about connection, it was about control. You see, emotional reactions feed the dynamic. Tears, arguments, endless conversations about how this made me feel, all of that keeps you engaged in a loop where they stay central and you stay exhausted. But when you respond with clarity instead of chaos, something profound happens. You remove the reward. This doesn't mean you become silent out of fear. It means you become intentional, you speak clearly, briefly, and then you let your actions do the talking. You stop chasing closure from someone who benefits from keeping things unresolved. This is where self-trust is built. Not when they change. Not when they apologize, but when you realize, I can protect myself even if they never become who I hope they'd be. That realization is terrifying and liberating. And yes, you may grieve. You're not just letting go of a person. You're letting go of a story. The story that if you loved harder, stayed softer, endured longer, you would finally be chosen. That story ends here. What replaces it is something steadier. You begin choosing yourself, not loudly, not cruelly, but consistently. And consistency is the one thing a narcissistic dynamic cannot survive. Because when you stop bending, the relationship has to either transform or reveal itself. Let's talk about the moment everything inside you wants to go back to being nice. That moment when they suddenly soften, apologize halfway, or remind you of who they were in the beginning. This is the most dangerous moment, not because you're weak, but because you're hopeful. Hope can pull you back into a pattern that was hurting you. A narcissistic cycle often includes just enough warmth to keep you doubting your decision. Just enough charm to make you wonder if this time is different. And if you don't understand this cycle, you'll confuse relief with change. Relief feels good, but it doesn't last. Change feels uncomfortable, but it holds. This is where discernment matters more than empathy. Don't listen to what they promise. Watch what they practice. Real change shows up as consistency over time, not emotional speeches in moments of crisis. Anyone can say the right words when access to you is threatened. Ask yourself this instead. Do I feel calmer or more anxious around them now? Do I feel expanded or diminished? Do I feel respected or managed? Your nervous system tells the truth long before your mind catches up. And here's the hardest truth of all. Sometimes that works isn't something you do to them. It's something you stop doing for them. You stop rescuing. You stop smoothing things over. You stop absorbing in the impact of their behavior so they don't have to. When you do that, the dynamic either becomes healthier or it ends. And either outcome is a form of freedom because the goal was never to fix them. The goal was to stop losing yourself. I need you to hear this clearly because it cuts through years of self, blame me, choosing boundaries does not make you unloving. It makes you honest. And honesty is far more threatening to a narcissistic dynamic than anger ever could be. When you stop over-functioning, stop reminding, fixing, anticipating, and absorbing, you expose a truth they've worked hard to avoid. You show them that the relationship can no longer run on your exhaustion, that it will no longer survive on your silence, and that is deeply destabilizing for someone who depends on imbalance. This is where guilt shows up, heavy, convincing. It whispers, you're abandoning them, you're being too harsh, you're changing. Let me reframe that for you. You are not abandoning them, you are returning to yourself. And yes, you are changing, you are becoming less available to harm. A narcissist often confuses access with entitlement. When you remove unlimited access, they experience it as injustice. But discomfort is not abuse. Disappointment is not cruelty. You are allowed to disappoint someone who is comfortable with your self-betrayal. Here's what real strength looks like. Staying grounded when they provoke you to react. Holding your line even when they test it. Not because you want to win, but because you refuse to lose yourself again. And something quiet but powerful happens here. You stop asking, how do I make them understand me? And you start asking, Do I understand myself enough to protect my values? That question changes everything. There comes a moment when you realize the real battle was never with them. It was with the part of you that learned to survive by staying small, agreeable, and endlessly accommodating. That part kept you safe once, but it cannot lead you forward. A narcissistic dynamic thrives on your self-doubt, on your hesitation, on the split second where you pause before speaking your truth and ask yourself, is this too much? The moment you stop asking that question, the balance of power shifts, not dramatically, quietly, permanently. This is where self-respect stops being an idea and becomes a practice. You don't announce it, you embody it. You stop volunteering explanations. You stop justifying your needs. You let your no be full and your yes be clean. And when something violates your values, you act not to punish, but to protect. Expect resistance, not because you're wrong, but because you're no longer predictable. When someone is used to benefiting from your flexibility, your firmness feels like betrayal. Let them feel that. You are not responsible for managing the emotions of someone who refused to manage their behavior. And listen closely. You may not be seen more clearly by them, but you will be seen more clearly by yourself. You will feel the relief of alignment, of your words matching your actions, of your inner voice no longer arguing with your choices. That is the beginning of real peace, not the peace of being liked, but the peace of being whole. By now, you've learned that boundaries are not punishment, they are protection. But knowing this isn't enough, you need to live it. Real life is messy, complicated, and emotionally charged. A narcissist will test you, push you, guilt you, and try to convince you that your boundaries are unreasonable. And here's the catch. Your mind may start to doubt them too. Am I being too harsh? Am I overreacting? Yes, these thoughts are normal, but they are also exactly the trap you need to recognize and avoid. Strengthening boundaries isn't about anger or revenge. It's about consistency. It's about saying no when your heart says yes out of fear. It's about walking away when staying compromises your dignity. It's about communicating clearly and calmly. This is my line. You may not cross it. And then living that truth every single day. Your boundaries are shield and your compass. They guide you toward emotional freedom and away from manipulation. Remember, consistency is everything. A single moment of hesitation or compromise can undo weeks of progress. This is why it's crucial to practice role play, journal your commitments, and remind yourself why these boundaries matter. Over time, you'll notice a profound shift, not in the narcissist, but in yourself. Your confidence grows. Your voice strengthens, your inner peace deepens, and for the first time, you realize that freedom isn't about changing them. It's about changing how you protect and honor yourself. By the end of this journey, the power you reclaim is undeniable. You become untouchable, not in arrogance, but in unwavering self-respect. Now, here's the part most people dread, the resistance. Once you set firm boundaries, the narcissist will push back. They will test your patience, challenge your limits, and attempt to make you feel guilty. They might cry, manipulate, or even withdraw affection. It can feel unbearable, but this is exactly when your inner strength is forged. You must understand this clearly. Their reaction is not a reflection of your worth. Their discomfort is a mirror of their own inability to respect limits, not a sign that you are wrong. Every time they lash out, it is proof that your boundaries are working. It's proof that you are finally taking control of your emotional space. Do not confuse their anger with your failure. Your power lies in steadfast calmness, in your unwavering refusal to be swayed by their chaos. Practice emotional detachment. This doesn't mean you stop caring about yourself or others. It means you stop carrying the burden of their emotions. Imagine a shield around your heart, impenetrable to manipulation and guilt. When they test you, respond with clarity and neutrality. Repeat your boundaries as necessary, and do not engage in arguments designed to pull you back into their world. Remember, freedom is not granted by them. Freedom is claimed by you. Each act of maintaining your limits, each refusal to be drawn into their drama is a declaration, I am not defined by your needs or approval. The more you stand firm, the less control they have, and the more peace you gain. This is it, the moment where everything comes together. You've learned that being nice won't change a narcissist. You've discovered that real transformation comes from boundaries, clarity, and unwavering self-respect. And now you stand at the threshold of freedom, a freedom that does not depend on their approval, their love, or their change. It depends solely on you. Imagine waking up each day without fear, without guilt, without the constant drain of trying to fix someone who cannot be fixed. Imagine living your life fully, without compromise, without shame, without the suffocating weight of someone else's entitlement. This is not a fantasy. This is your future. The power to reclaim your energy, your voice, and your joy has always been within you. The narcissist's chaos is no longer your storm. You are the calm, unshakable force at the center. Let this be your declaration. I will no longer negotiate my worth. I will not apologize for protecting my peace. I will not sacrifice my soul for someone who cannot see it. Stand firm in your boundaries, honor your emotions, and embrace the freedom that comes from saying no to manipulation and yes to yourself. The journey isn't easy, and it isn't always linear, but every step you take is a step toward empowerment, clarity, and emotional liberation. You are no longer at their mercy. You are no longer trapped by their drama. You are free. You are whole. You are unbreakable. And remember this, being nice was never the answer. Being strong, being clear, and protecting yourself always will be